Hello everyone and welcome back to Maxed, the online video series where I am on the journey to max in every version of Oldschool Runescape. It's been a little while since I released a video on the channel, and this was because I decided to take a small break from the channel so that I could just play the game and do some other hobbies, just to take a small little break before the Trailblazer League before it begins. But with us only being a couple weeks away from the next league beginning, I thought I would warm myself up and get back into the swing of things. We're set to continue from where we left off in the last episode. In episodes 23 and 24, I showed you all the progress I made on the permanent legacy server for Deadman mode back from mid-2018. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you guys the progress that I made on my Ultimate Ironman from February 2019 when I started up the account. At this current juncture in the series, I have maxed in 2 out of the now possible 9 game modes in Oldschool Runescape. With the Trailblazer League coming up, and with the added possibility of being able to accomplish the maximum total level in this league, I have decided to increase the number and up it from 8 to 9 versions of the game. Previously, I believed that the Twisted League was going to be the only version of the league where it would be possible to achieve the maximum total level, but with Trailblazer also having this possibility, I felt it prudent to go for the max total level in Trailblazer as well when it comes out on the 28th of this month. I hope that in future editions of the League they will stop doing this, as by the end of the series I could very well be in the double digits for Maxscape, and that isn't something that I would want to happen. Also, before the episode begins, I wanted to thank you all who voted yes in the previous poll. In episode 23 I asked you all to help me by helping the series by voting yes to the updates that Jagex were polling for the Bone Scepter, which is a key item for me accomplishing 99 runecrafting free to play. And all 3 questions passed the poll, so thank you very much, and please enjoy the episode. So I begun Jexler, my Ultimate Ironman, in February of 2019. As you can see in the background, I am on Vizela handing the account its first bond whilst wearing the agility skill cape, meaning that at the time I hadn't maxed on Vizela. I thought at the time I could set up my Ultimate Ironman to AFK skills on the side whilst I was still maxing Vizela, as I knew that I could one day max on the Ultimate Ironman mode, and therefore I would have a head start when I set my focus on this game mode, but as you will find out later, this didn't turn out to be the case. One of the first things I did on my Ultimate Ironman was the completion of the Witch's House quest. The hit points XP given by this quest was a requirement for me to rush the agility pyramid, as I wanted to get some startup GP so that I could afford the feathers to train fishing to 99. I was doing Motherlode Mine at the time on Vizela en route to 99 mining, so whilst I was training mining on my main, I thought I could go for fishing on my ultimate at the same time. Whilst I was moving from area to area with the intention of training my agility level, I was doing quests. So I completed the Fight Arena and Tree Gnome Village quest before going for 10 agility in the Gnome Stronghold. I think whilst I was doing the Waterfall quest as well, I got battered by a Moss Giant whilst getting the Amulet and the Urn for the quest, which changed my startup strategy as I died and respawned in Lumbridge. Having died during the Waterfall quest, I decided to go for 30 agility in Draenor so I could unlock the Rarok rooftop quest. I also knew I would need some startup GP to buy the water skins and desert robes before starting the agility pyramid later, so I headed into Deep Wilderness to pick up steel plate bodies so I could sell them in Rarok for GP. Whilst I was passing through Draenor again, I completed the Ernest the Chicken quest before selling the plate bodies that I picked up in the wilderness. After that I headed back to Kandarin to finish the Waterfall quest, and then home teleported back to Lumbridge to do the Restless Ghost and Rune Mysteries quests. I also wanted to unlock the Mauritania rooftop course, as I knew I would need to unlock Mauritania eventually anyway later on into the account, so I also completed the Priest in Peril quest as well. After I done the Priest in Peril quest, I got 40 agility in Varrock, and then after I got 50 in Canthus, I moved on to the Falador rooftop course. It became my goal at this point to acquire the full Greystall set, as I was picking up the Greystall tokens whilst training my agility in preparation for the agility pyramid, and I thought this would also be better to run laps in just instead of using the desert robes as I originally intended. With 60 agility done in Falador, I moved on to the Sears rooftop course. My last agility level before getting full Greystall was 64 agility, and after picking up my last token for the set, I used the minigames teleport to get to Birthrock to buy my set. With full Greystall unlocked and 64 agility in the bag, I knew I could run efficient laps in the desert whilst unlocking the GP for my upcoming fishing grind. Whilst I was running laps, it occurred to me that I would need a way to store my Greystall set in my POH whilst I was training fishing, as it was my intentions to also unlock the angler set later on when I had enough GP, so I teleported out to make some bronze nails so I could begin training construction. Once I had enough nails and GP to train construction, I knew I would need to unlock some teleport so I could train it somewhat efficiently, so I took a massive risk and headed to the mage bank to buy some lores and other runes to train my magic level. The mage bank was the only way at the time for me to get a stack of lore runes to train construction with, so it was a giant risk. At this level of wilderness, I could have wiped and not only lost my cash stack, but also my full set of graceful. Thankfully nobody got me and I made it to the mage bank. After I got my lures, I trained my magic to 25 at Moss Giants and then moved on to Fire Giants at the waterfall to see if I get myself a rune scimitar. However, by the time I got 40 magic to unlock the teleport to house spell, I didn't get the drop. That's okay though, as I would have had to occupy a inventory space that could have been used for an extra plank to train construction with, so I didn't mind if I didn't get the rune scimitar at the time. Now, at the time, Mahogany Homes wasn't in the game yet, and I didn't really have an efficient way of training construction other than making runs to the sawmill in Varrock and converting the logs I chopped using a steel axe that I got in Lumbridge, so I had to make a bit of a grind before I could get 42 construction, which is the level required to make a costume room and the oak magic wardrobe in my POH. When I eventually unlocked the wardrobe, I could store my full graceful in my POH, and later I could upgrade it through training construction when I would eventually need to store other sets as well. With that done, I begun working on fishing to unlock the fishing trawler minigame, and after a few days of grinding, I acquired the full angler set. By unlocking the angler set on my Ultimate Ironman, I could do minnow fishing when I eventually go for 99 cooking. The angler set is necessary to get to the platform inside the fishing guild to do minnow fishing, which gives noted raw sharks in return, which will be my eventual method for training cooking to 99. In the meantime, the XP boost to fishing would be more than welcomed as well for when I go for 99 fishing. However, it was at this time, much like my progress in Deadman mode, that I stopped playing the account as I wanted to focus all my attention into maxing with Zayla. At the same time that I was playing my ultimate, I'd also started up my hardcore Ironman, and whilst I would love to show you guys what I did during the month that I first started playing Rari last year as well, I unfortunately lost all the footage that I recorded during this time, so I can't show you the origins of my hardcore Ironman unlike my Deadman and Ultimate Ironman modes. And so by the time I finished unlocking the angler set on my Ultimate Ironman, I decided to retire both it and all my other accounts to focus maxing on Vizela. Whilst I would revive my hardcore Ironman a few months later after I maxed in the Twisted League, and so this has been the account that I've played for most of this year, it wouldn't be until September of 2020 that I would begin playing the Ultimate Ironman and the Deadman mode versions of this game. Well over a year since I begun progressing in both modes before ultimately retiring them to max my very first account in the game. With the culmination of this episode, I am now actively playing my hardcore and Ultimate Ironman accounts, as well as my free-to-play and Deadman mode accounts as well. When the 28th of October rolls around, I will, once again, retire playing these modes again for at least a couple of months so that I can fully focus on Trailblazer League, as the stakes couldn't be higher enough for the series when the Trailblazer begins at the end of this month. Much like it was when the Twisted League began last year, I must max in the Trailblazer League if I am to call myself the first and only person to max in every version of Oldschool Runescape. If I fail to achieve the maximum total level of 2,277 in the Trailblazer League, then this will be a failed series, and so all of the progress that I have made thus far on all of the other game modes will have amounted to nothing. I cannot say that I maxed in every version of RuneScape if I do not max in the Trailblazer League. And even though it is a version of the game that has bonus XP, much like Deadman mode, and has relics which gives my character powerful boosts and abilities that aren't possible in any other version of the game, it is still a very short window to achieve the maximum total level. When I maxed in the Twisted League last year, it wasn't until the final hours of the tournament that I achieved my max status. I found it incredibly difficult to max in the Twisted League last year, which was why I was so proud of myself for doing it. And whilst I think the Trailblazer League will be much easier of a challenge than the Twisted League, I still think it will test my limits as a player when it comes to maxing a RuneScape account, in spite of the advantages that I will get whilst playing the game. It will be a challenge, but with my determination to succeed, I know the Trailblazer League will be the third time I max in Oldschool Runescape. And in spite of its challenges, I know that it would be one of the easier game modes to max in comparison to the Ultimate Ironman mode. We end this episode by having shown the beginnings of my Ultimate Ironman, and yet I know by the difficulty of the game mode that it won't be until the final episodes of this series that I will have achieved a max cape in the Ultimate Ironman mode. By comparison, the Trailblazer League will be almost nothing to the Ultimate Ironman, and yet its importance cannot be understated. I can take my time with my Ultimate Ironman and pick up and play it whenever I see fit, but when the Trailblazer begins, I will only have a period of maybe 8 to 9 weeks to max my account, and when that last day comes and goes, the Trailblazer will be done, and I must be one of the few people to max in Trailblazer if I am to call myself the only man to max in every version of Oldschool Runescape. Until the 28th rolls by, I will have 2 new episodes of max to show you before it begins, and then I'll be creating a spin-off series about the Trailblazer League. If you're watching this episode on its release or are someone catching up in the series, then you can find the first episode to my Trailblazer progress videos in the description down below, among all my other relevant links. I'll see you all in the next episode, and until then, keep safe in these crazy times, and remember to take precautions if you're planning to go outside. I wouldn't want any of you to get sick. Goodbye for now.
Of LSD 25, 1/10 of a milligram, the equivalent of 1/600th of a grain. An ounce of this material will make 150,000 such doses. Let us observe the effect some 3 hours later.
Well, I think it's time for you to have your lysergic acid. Drink this down, and we'll be back after a while and see how you're doing. Lysergic acid. How do you feel inside?
Everything is in color, and I can feel the air. I can see it. I can see all the molecules.